Pharmacist
Hey,
Ben.
Jay, my man. Sportis
How's it going?
Nutriciosis. What's going on?
Yeah,
Sportis.
we're just
Got that picture of that basketball. When I on my iPhone, I get a picture of you playing basketball every time you call. I don't know how you rig that, but somehow you do. And you're Sportis. Were you an athlete, or are you an athlete?
I was an athlete.
What was your athletic pursuit? Basketball.
Basketball. I love throwing balls. I love throwing a baseball. Love throwing a football.
Well, you look good you told me how old you were. I was shocked when you told me how old you are. So you must be moving around pretty good there.
You're not doing it. When I found out how old you were, I was floored. I can't believe it.
Is that right?
You're doing fantastic.
Dude, 64.
You're doing great, man.
The prognosis isn't good. Life is terminal.
Yeah, hey, man. I know where you can get some products to extend that life.
You can. I'm writing a book. I shouldn't say I've been writing a book for a long time, but one of the things we just wrote today was about how we don't appreciate all the stuff that's going on inside our bodies, and that allows us to do things like that we shouldn't be doing: smoking, eating French fries, not getting enough sleep, all the things that we do, because we don't understand how magnificent our bodies are at the most tiniest of levels. We see our bodies, but we don't see what's going on, all the intricacies. I've said this before. When they do chips, computer chips at Intel, when they're making computer chips, they wear hazmat suits, because if a drop of saliva or carbon dioxide from your breath, or the tiniest piece of dust, a mote of dust, gets on a chip, it ruins it, right? Well, the body is countless times more complex than that. And so what we put in the body, if we understood how intricate and how complex and how intelligent, how dynamic the system was at the tiniest of levels, the electron level, the quantum level, we wouldn't do things that we're doing. We just really don't understand what's going on. But what the good news is we're leaving health on the table. We're leaving good, like you said, I'm looking good, but that's because I know what to do. I know certain things. Now, I still have to drink the water. I still got to breathe the air. I still got to walk down the street where there's carbon monoxide coming out of people's cars and pollution and heavy metals and this, that. So you're not going to live your fully allotted 120, and I'm not going to probably live to my fully allotted 120 either. But I want to make it into my 90s and early hundreds gracefully. And that's really what you want, is you want to do gracefully. And I'm telling you, people who are listening, I think we have people listening here, getting on a nutritional supplement program will add years to your life, and not just add years, but add a degree of comfort. I don't know how comfortable it is. It's more than supplementation, but it will add a degree of comfort to your life that you want and you deserve. And that's a nutritional supplement program for people like, I'm 64, Sportis, young Sportis over there is 52, I think, if that's okay, if I can reveal your
you can't be telling my age on TV.
I know. Is that the number? I don't even remember it, but it's something like that.
It's 52. You got it.
Okay, good. So you can add years to your life without arthritis, without autoimmunity, God forbid, without cancer, without heart disease. These are all gratuitous. These are all gratuitous. You get this? Autoimmunity should not happen, people. And there's ways around it. Heart disease, diabetes, digestive issues. There are ways around this. Yes, you're not going to live your fully 120 years, but get to 85, 90, 95, 100 smoothly, gracefully. And a nutritional supplement program like Longevity will help you do just that, and will help you do that too. Right, Sportis?
That's a fantastically...
How many do we have people on board? Are people watching us here?
Positive message. We do have a couple people on Rumble. I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but they'll be here. And if they don't see us now, they will see us.
I'll do it for you, and they'll listen to it later.
Fantastic.
So what's our questions for today, sir?
The first question is, how do I deal with thrombocytopenia?
Okay. So thrombocytopenia is a condition. Thrombocytes are cells that are involved in the clotting process, keeps blood at just the right thickness. We talk a lot about dirty blood and thick blood. Well, blood has to have a certain consistency to it. You don't want too thick, you don't want too thin, you want it like Goldilocks, not too hot, not too cold, right in the middle. And some of that texture, that solidity, that gel-like nature is maintained by thrombocytes, platelets, they call them, especially when you wound yourself. platelets are involved in the wound healing process. People who have low platelets have bruising. It typically happens when you have cancer. I'm not saying every time you have thrombocytopenia you have cancer, but I'm saying it's one of the features of cancers, of blood cancers. So, certain blood cancers. So, the point I'm making is that platelets are made in the bone marrow, and when you're not making platelets, the body is out of whack. You can't just say, what am I going to take for my platelets? Although there are some nutrients that I'll tell you about here in a second that you can do that will help support platelet production. But more importantly is, why are you not making platelets? So this is a person, and they're not here, obviously, we can't say anything, that has some underlying health challenges. And this is important. Why? Because as practitioners, which health coaches are, and also as patients or as people caring for loved ones, it's really important to recognize that where you see the problem is not necessarily where you're going to work. You work backwards, upstream. You work upstream, where the water's flowing. You work upstream. Platelets and bone marrow issues typically involve inflammation, some kind of inflammatory process. And that's always going to be the case. So you know how I always say all disease is cell disease. There's only 3 things that go wrong with the cell: starvation, suffocation, toxification, right?
Yes.
The next step after starvation and suffocation and toxification is cell death. Cells die. And when that happens, you get inflammation. Hear me out here, okay? Cells die. And when something dies, it has to be segregated from the stuff that's alive. That's why we bury our dead, right?
Okay.
And in fact, anthropologists will understand how advanced a culture was if they bury their dead or not. If they didn't bury their dead, they say they were prehistoric. They were way down on the evolutionary ladder. As we got up on the evolutionary ladder, we started, even Neanderthals, I think, started to bury their dead, because dead bodies have to be kept away from live bodies, because all of the action in a body is very harsh and caustic when it's not in a cell. When it's out of a cell, when it's exploded, it's harsh and caustic. On top of that, there are zillions and gazillions and trillions and huge numbers of bacteria and funguses and things that live inside a body. And when they get out, you have a big problem. You don't want to contaminate the soil and the earth, whatever it is, wherever the dead body is. So dead bodies have traditionally been buried or burnt, or, they don't want them around, right? Well, a cell that dies is a dead body. You with me?
Yes.
A cell that dies has to be segregated from the living cells. The acids, the enzymes, all the stuff being spewed out of this dead body is very caustic. So the body has developed a system for segregating that cell, for segregating that dead cell, all that spewed out toxicity. That system that has been developed to segregate that cell has a word. We'll give it a name for that system, that process. You know what we call it? We call it inflammation. That's what inflammation is. Inflammation is a blockade that segregates problem areas. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when we think of inflammation, most people, they kind of have a sense of what it is. You get a black eye, inflammation, right? It puffs. That's what most people think of. And if you go to medical school, they say inflammation is 4 things: dolor, calor, rubor, tumor. Dolor means pain. Calor means heat. Rubor means redness. And tumor means swelling. Those are the cardinal signs of inflammation, right? Dolor, calor, rubor, tumor, right? So don't have to worry. We all know this intuitively. You break your leg, you fall and hit something, boom, it swells, it's hot, it's red, painful, right? That's the cardinal signs of inflammation. We all know this. But what we don't recognize is that inflammatory process that happens in your eye when you get a black eye or punched in the eye, or in your ankle when you sprain your ankle. Sportists, you probably sprain more than one ankle, I'm sure, right? When you sprain your ankle, swells, tumor, it hurts, dolor, it gets red, rubor, it's warm to the touch. Calor, you put ice on it, right? That same process happens at the microscopic level, protecting a cell the way it protects your tendons, protecting a cell the way it protects your connective tissue, whatever you've got punched in the eye, or whatever it is. It's doing the same thing. It's walling off the area, just like walling off here. You got a walling off to protect the eye bone, or you got a walling off to protect the ankle bone, or you got a walling off to protect whatever. You get the same thing at the level of a cell. You follow me? I'm working here, so I'm going somewhere with this.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
That's called microinflammation. We don't know we have it. We don't know we have it. You know you got a black eye. You know you got a swollen ankle. You know that. But you don't know microinflammation because it's micro. It's at the level of a cell. In fact, it can what ends up happening is when you are constantly starving your body, missing the mighty 90 nutrients, that is, when you're constantly suffocating, not breathing correctly, not oxygenating correctly, when you're constantly toxic, and sugar is a toxin, by the way, as are a lot of food additives, toxins. And there's tons of toxins. When the system is toxic, eventually lots of cells are going to die. For people, this starts off at infancy. For most people, at infancy, this process, this micro-inflammatory process. What happens, see, here's what happens. The inflammation is a good thing. It's protecting the rest of the body from the cell. It's functional. But it's not supposed to happen all the time. When it happens all the time, what you end up with is pockets of inflammation as cells die. It's happen chronically. It happens once in a while. That's not a bad thing. Eventually, the body will clean itself out. But when it happens chronically, because we're chronically starved, chronically malnourished, chronically toxic, and chronically hypoxic, or also the inflammation also causes lack of oxygen to the area. It's hard to deliver oxygen. You get these pockets that aren't getting fed, pockets that aren't getting breathed, pockets that aren't getting detoxified, and you get more inflammation. You get this downward spiral of toxification, starvation, suffocation, inflammation leads to more toxification, starvation, suffocation, leads to more inflammation, leads to more, on and on and on, starting when you're a baby, sometimes in the womb. This is what most of us are living with, okay? And then you're watching TV, and all of a sudden you start to notice something. Oh my God, that hurts. Or I felt something here. Felt hard. You wake up with, God forbid, with something shaking or pounding. And you're like, you have no idea. I have people call me up and say, I was just minding my own business and I got fibromyalgia. You know, I was just sitting around doing nothing and I got arthritis. Boom. It just happened, you know, because we didn't see the decades, you know, the lifetime of this starvation, suffocation, toxification, inflammation. The reason it's important for thrombocytopenia, platelets, is because you can't take care of the platelets. You can't say, here's platelets. That's why the doctors can't do anything. You can't, like, you know, turn on the platelet switch and then have the platelets go. It doesn't work that way. The environment is toxic and starved and suffocated and inflamed. You follow me?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to tell you some nutrients to take, but this is why. You always go to the triangle. You always address the triangle, because with the triangle, that's what it does. It takes care of the environment, the starvation, suffocation, toxification, and inflammation. Now, there are things that you could do for the platelets, and there are some certain things you can do with nutritional supplementation without going back to the triangle, depending on how blatant the nutritional deficiency is. I'm not going to tell you that there's no benefits to just doing nutritional supplements. Just even if you're not going to do anything else, just doing the Healthy Start Pack. Everybody should do the Healthy Start Pack, and the sicker you are, the more you need it. But don't expect to get the incredible, mind-blowing results that you deserve and that the body is capable of doing unless you address the triangle that we deserve and that we're capable of. Otherwise, we're leaving health on the table. So thrombocytopenia needs to be addressed as a digestive condition first and foremost. Nobody wakes up with thrombocytopenia. It's a cumulative, the end of it's an accumulation, the culmination is what I'm trying to say here, of a whole bunch of stuff that's been going on for a long period of time. So you got to get to the digestive system. And also with the digestive system, we got a 1-2 punch, right? This is really important to remember with the digestive system. When I say the digestive system, I'm talking about the intestine although it's all connected. You know, stomach and pancreas and liver and everything else is all linked up. But I'm basically talking about the intestine because that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where the outside world meets the inside world. And with the intestine, you get a 1-2 punch. Or with intestinal problems, you get a 1-2 punch. You get leaky gut, stuff getting into the bloodstream, which is a major stimulus of the immune system, major, behind everything. And I know I've run the risk of sounding like some crazy guy who's always saying digestion and intestine, but this is so important because toxicity, you know, I'm not being a one-trick pony, but I'm telling you, every single health challenge is chronic, from cancer to acne to chronic Lyme disease to long COVID. They're all digestive, all of it. Not 99.9, 100% starts in that right in that juncture where the intestine meets the blood. Make sense? That's where the outside world meets the inside world. The intestine meets the blood. The blood's the inside world. The digestive system is kind of like the outside world compared to the blood, which is the inside world. So you patch up the leaky gut. First of all, for health professionals who are working with this lady, ask questions about her digestive system, food diary, elimination diet. I mean, you guys know. How many times do you want to hear me say, you know, food diary,
a billion more.
Food diary, elimination diet. You know, it's funny. I know what you're saying because you can't say it enough, pretty much. You know, no matter how many times you hear it. And one time it just clicks. And boom.
I've actually become. I'm still on the point. The triangle. I'm still trying to get people to understand the triangle, but I'm at the point. I'm at the point of disease that every time someone talks to me or a coach or a different client, I'm mentioning, let's fix your digestion. Let's work on your digestion.
That's exactly
and that is my refrain.
Exactly.
And
That's
it will
refrain.
be
Refrain. Beautiful. So, and here's why though. You get the 1-2 punch. You got toxicity, but you also get malnourishment. This is very important. You know, we don't recognize this. The intestine is where you get nourished. So once that intestine becomes inflamed, or God forbid, if something yanks it out, takes a part out, you're now going to be You're going to be functionally starving. You're going to be functionally missing nutrients. So not only with you have intestinal problems, SIBO and you know, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, celiac disease, all the different things that can happen at the level of the intestine. Not only are you now dealing with toxicity, now you're dealing with malnourishment. Boom, boom. 2 points on that three things we talked about: nourishment and detoxification. Now you've got toxicity and you're starving. So the intestine is the key to everything for that reason, and it's logical also because really it's the center of your body and it contains like the most amount of nerves aside from your brain. It's like a brain. It's called your second brain, your digestive system. It has an intelligence that the ancient Greeks thought it was an independent organism that lived in our bodies. You know, and I don't want to be quoted on that. I remember reading that a long time ago. It got my attention. I don't even remember where I read it, but I thought that was really interesting because it looks like it's separated, it has its own neurology, and you know, it's like it's an independent organism in a way. So, you know, it's the unspeakable importance of the digestive system is so underappreciated and underleveraged. And that's the key right there. It's a lever. It's a point of power. So this lady needs to work on all that. There's a particular class of vitamins, the B vitamins, especially folate and B12, that play a very important role in platelet production. And she's probably going to be deficient in those because those are absorbed intestinally. And B12 in particular is absorbed at the level of the stomach. She may have stomach problems, or not absorbed, but it requires chemistry from the stomach, biochemicals from the stomach. And so she may have a stomach problem, so she's not making the stuff. It's called intrinsic factor. And she digestion. B vitamins, beyond tangy tangerine, must have. Beyond tangy tangerine should be thought of as a B vitamin, plant-derived mineral electrolyte drink. The B vitamins are the superstar. And you know what? Vitamin C too. I might as well throw that in. But the B vitamin is really, that's what gives you the kick. You know how people get a kick from beyond tangy tangerine? They'll get like an energy thing from beyond tangy tangerine. B vitamins. Probably electrolytes help too, but the B vitamins, especially vitamin B1. So give her the B. She's majorly important for her. Then the blood sugar system. I'm not going to go into the whole thing about blood sugar, but inflammation and blood sugar go hand in elevated blood sugar, that is, go hand in hand. Elevated insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, liver, blah, blah, blah. Rebecca, knows all about metabolic syndrome ad nauseum. I'm sure at this
We're
point.
going to bring Rebecca on in a minute. Do you like the Daily Digest pack?
Yes, Daily Digest, love it.
Better than the Ultimate Microbiome?
No, not better. Together.
And then the Ultimate Enzymes.
Yes, don't forget our favorite. Me and Wallach have a favorite. I'm really honored to say me and Wallach have one of our favorites. It puts a smile on Wallach's face, on Dr. Wallach's face.
I-26.
I-26. There it is.
I got the chewables. I know you don't
there
like
it is.
so much, but yeah.
So she needs some I-26 and the Ultimate Enzymes. And the Ultimate Enzymes, by the way, are great for. They also, well, I shouldn't say that. Just the Ultimate Enzymes taken with food. Put it that way.
Okay.
And then Ultimate EFAs are nature's anti-inflammatories. Do you know that? They're like aspirin. They're nature's aspirin.
I actually, when people have asked me, what do I do about my headache? I said, are you taking your EFAs today? So
that's all those things. Now, so basically the triangle, and then also if she wants to do a few other things, Fucoid Z, I probably do Fucoid Z. That's really very, very important for the blood and for blood cells. Protein, if she can do protein, that can also be helpful. Yes. But she may also want to try some of the stuff from the healthy brain and heart pack, Ultimate Selenium, Ultimate Niacin, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But the most important is to address the general inflammation that's longstanding, that's coming in from digestion and blood sugar and insulin and metabolic syndrome.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. And before we bring Becca Dukes on, I had a little question that someone sent in about copper, and that was based on a video that you had done about copper. I just want to play that video briefly, if you don't mind.
Okay, don't embarrass me here.
Because, well, I don't know if I can do that, but anyway, here's the video.
Okay. I'm Pharmacist Ben, and it's time for another moment of truth. There's been a lot of noise in the cosmetic world recently about an anti-aging ingredient called copper peptides, a molecule being touted by beauty editors and skincare professionals for accelerating healing, eliminating wrinkles, strengthening the skin, and improving various signs of aging. Copper is involved in the development of connective tissue and collagen, and it's possible that deficiencies are a cause of various signs of skin aging, including thinning and the formation of wrinkles, crow's feet, and fine lines. Unfortunately, copper is a transition metal, well known for its inherent instability. It tends to transit readily from one form to another, and this unstable tendency makes ordinary copper difficult to work with in skincare products. Thus, the importance of copper peptide, which contains a piece of the element wrapped inside 3 amino acids called a tripeptide, or peptide for short. This protective wrapping stabilizes the essential nutrient and makes it available for cells to use. And that's not all. As it turns out, copper peptide may also act as an epigenetic factor, turning on genetic sequences that are ultimately responsible for wound healing and connective tissue growth. Still, as theoretically beneficial as copper peptides may be, whether or not they can actually penetrate through the skin's upper layer to viable cells in the lower levels is unknown. The best way to use copper peptides is in microneedling procedures, which can support the mechanical delivery of the molecule to living cells underneath the skin's surface. That's today's moment of truth. Have a beautiful day. Damn.
Okay, that's my guy right there.
Damn. You can see every little whisker on my chin in that picture. Thanks for that. Thanks for that visual. Could you get a little closer, make it a little bigger, make my head fill up the screen even more?
You shot that video, not me. I didn't shoot
it that big. Jeez Louise. I can see my hairs, my nostril hairs.
All right, well, this show's not about us. It's not about our vanity. It's about helping the folks. So what about what you said about copper and its importance?
Yes, here's the deal. Copper, as I said in the video, is a very unstable molecule. It's a very problematic molecule. Right in this, it's all about this right here. Dude, can you see? Actually, I don't know if you can see.
I know what it is. It's your periodic chart.
Periodic table. You got it. It's all about the periodic table. And if you look right in the center of the periodic table, you'll see copper along with zinc, nickel, cobalt, iron. These are the center of the periodic table, and they're very unstable. They transition between forms. Transitioning between forms at the level of elements is a good thing and a bad thing. Why would it be a good thing? Because it allows energy to move. It acts as a really functional carrier for energy. It's flexible. It could do a lot of things. It could turn from a 2 to a 3. Energy, boom, boom, boom. Like follow the bouncing ball. Like what's that game where like hot potato? Boom, 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 boom. Like that. That's good. That's really important. But it's also bad. Because you got to have things stable. You got to have a certain amount of stability. Things can't go crazy in the body. Everything has to have a certain organization. So transition metals are very problematic. They're good and they're bad. They're good because they're unstable. They're bad because they're unstable. Yes.
Interesting that you say it's unstable, because when we think of things like copper and zinc, it appears to us visually
because you're not seeing quantum. Correct. You're seeing a bunch of small pieces squished together. I'm talking about just the small pieces. The quantum world, which is what we're talking about here, acts completely differently from the macro world. The rules are different. The rules are totally different at the quantum level. What's stable here is not stable here. We can't see it, or we can't perceive it. But the instability, I should say, of the transition metals is good and is bad. Copper, in particular, is one of the more unstable transition metals, one of the more unstable molecules. It oxidizes readily. What we're really talking about here is oxidation. That's really the word. When you hear oxidation, you're talking about the instability. This is so cool what you're getting down if you really want to drill down to this, because this is really where all of life is. It's at the level of instability at that quantum level. That's how life begins, at that quantum level, where you have a balance between instability and stability. In terms of practicality, if you're going to work with copper, either in a supplement or in a skincare product, you got to have a certain amount of stability. It can't keep bouncing around from different forms. It can't keep breaking down. You got to know what you got, right? In a supplement or in a skincare product, you got to know what it's going to do. It can't be bouncing around. So there's different ways in industry we figured out how to stabilize copper.
The peptide?
Hang on, don't jump, don't be stealing my thunder there, sportist nutritionist.
Listen,
I'm working here. Can't you see me working here?
I'm gonna let you cook.
All right. So I say industry has figured out how to do it, right? But so have plants. Plants figured out how to do it way before industry figured out how to do it. When a plant does it, it will surround the molecule with various other molecules to stabilize the copper and other minerals too, to stabilize it. So it has a degree of stability so the plant can work with it. So I'll constantly breaking down, the plant can't work with it. It's constantly changing forms. So it's stabilized by molecules that surround the copper. That complex of copper that's surrounded with molecules is called colloidal copper, because the molecules that surround the copper are big enough and have just the right electronics that allows them to suspend in liquid. This is what colloidal minerals are. Colloidal minerals are minerals like copper, which have been surrounded with molecules to create a substance that will now hang in water via electricity, via electrical interactions. In fact, these electrical interactions between the colloids, this is called colloidal copper, between the colloidal minerals, because other minerals do it too, they call them colloidal minerals. The electrical interaction between water, now we're talking at quantum levels, the molecules here, not water like you drink. We're talking about molecule water that makes up water, which you drink. It's operating, playing the game at a whole nother level, a whole different level. The electrical reactions between the colloid, which has an electrical charge to it, and the water, which has an electrical charge to it, lets the colloidal mineral or colloid, whatever it is, hang. and creates an electromagnetic force in the water, which is amplified by spinning it, like in a blender, which is why you want to blend your Beyond Tangy Tangerine, by the way. In a blender, you want to create a vortex because you're leveraging those electrical charges. You're amping up those electrical charges with the movement. That's colloidal copper, and that's why we have colloidal minerals. And that's what Dr. Wallach's been talking about for years, is the power of these colloidal minerals. And this interaction, this electrical interaction between the minerals and the water is so high tech that Albert Einstein wrote papers on it before he wrote papers on quantum. He wrote papers on the interaction between colloidal particles and water and how it all moved around. That's how high tech this stuff is. Super high tech. And that's what colloidal minerals in a liquid colloidal minerals do for you. And how they derive these liquid colloidal minerals? From plants. That's why they're called plant-derived colloidal minerals. They come from plants because plants are doing this. But we in industry can do it too, or human beings in industry can do it too. And they do it by, instead of using plant molecules, the way a plant would do it, they use human molecules to surround the copper. These human molecules are proteins that have a length so that we refer to it as a peptide. They're amino acids, I should say, that have a length that turns it into a peptide. It's not a protein. It's an amino acid that's turned into a peptide.
Building block.
We do this in industry. And the combination of copper wrapped around with peptides stabilizes the copper so it can be used in a skincare product. And you can use it probably internally too, but it's not worth all of that expense to do it internally when you have copper everywhere, copper in nutrient and supplements and copper in foods, etc. So it's not really practical to do internally, although you could theoretically, I suppose you could eat your copper peptides. But the skincare business loves them because what it allows you to do is take advantage of the very important energetic properties of copper in a stabilized form. So you put the copper peptides on your skin, and because the peptides are familiar to the skin will take in the copper peptides, and then there are various enzymes that probably take the peptides off and release, I'm not sure if there's inside the cell or outside the cell, but there's various ways that release the copper for use by the cell. And copper plays a very important role in wound healing and in the production of connective tissue. So for wound healing, for peels, people burn themselves. You know, peels are skin peels. You probably don't know what that is, but
I know what it is. Of course I do.
Okay, yeah. So skin peels, right? So skin peels, lasers, and all the things. You know, this is my business. This is really the heart of my business. And so copper peptides are big in the skincare business. They've gone big. Whether or not they work, they probably do in burns. I'd say they accelerate the healing of broken tissue. But whether they work on intact skin for anti-aging, I'm not convinced of that. Nonetheless, that's the logic. So copper peptides are nature's version of colloidal copper. Copper peptides are typically used for skincare products. Colloidal copper is used in our plant-derived supplements, as well as obviously in plants and food. Does that help? Does that answer that?
It does help. You know, I'm bringing Becca Dukes on because Becca once used copper, colloidal copper for hair care. Becca, you wanted to explain what happened?
Made your hair blue? What happened to Becca?
I guess she froze and we can't.
Did it make her hair blue?
No, I didn't make my hair blue, but Ruth Ellen says that I didn't have my red highlights. I wasn't strawberry blonde anymore.
Yeah, it changes. And that color, no.
More brown.
Yeah. Becca, I can't really hear Becca for some reason.
She said her hair turned kind of brown.
Yeah, her hair turned brown, right. So here's the deal. That transition I talked about earlier, how it goes from one state to another. Do you remember me talking about that?
Absolutely.
How it's very unstable?
Yeah.
It's marked by a color change. When the color changes, you know you've jumped energy. In fact, while we're on the topic, that's what color is. All color is a jump in energy that you perceive. It's a movement of energy. And so when you see something change colors, because some kind of energy shifted. And in the case of copper, I think it goes from red, brownish to blue. And you can change it by adding acid. It's acid and alkaline that create these changes, because acid is a source of energy, and alkaline is also a negative source of energy. So it sucks energy. But either way, you're creating energetic changes. It's all about energy. And so copper is very energetically unstable, and you can manifest that by a color change. If you put acid in your hair, and I'm not sure which direction it goes, but one direction or another, acid or alkaline, your hair will be blue.
So I should be very thankful that
you should be very thankful. It could have been blue. It could have been blue.
Okay,
wow.
I have a couple quick comments about copper, and then we're going to move on to Becca's question. Yeah. Number one, when people have heart valve issues, you kind of indicated that copper is important to rebuild connective tissue. So would it be beneficial for somebody to utilize colloidal copper in that vein?
In that vein. Very nice. Very funny there. Funny guy.
No pun intended. That was pretty good.
No, for all circulate, copper is very important for blood vessels. Absolutely. It's a major player in in the health of the connective tissue that makes your blood vessels strong. Very important for heart, for vascular issues. That's where it shines. That's its real role. But it also is very important for detoxification. It plays a major role in detoxification. It's part of the detoxification enzymes. There are enzymes. The detox system is really amazing too. And there are enzymes and detox chemicals that depend on copper. So copper plays a player in detox, as well as cardiovascular health, also for pigment. Doc recommends it for silver hair like me, my silver fox hair.
Right, but Doc won't do anything that's fractionated. Doc's not going to recommend copper unless it's with the selenium and the other.
Yeah, no, I know he doesn't. I heard him say that today. I was listening today. He talked about the secret sauce.
Yeah,
hey, look, Doc, I can't. Doc knows what he's talking about.
So then, just another quick one. People use copper bracelets for circulation, and historically, in my family and others, they used to use copper pots to cook with. Is there any
you probably get some copper. Yeah, you probably get copper from a copper pot, I'm sure.
Silver from silverware.
You probably get some in using, I don't know about silverware, but when you cook something in a copper or iron or, lead historically, you get some of that stuff comes out into, I imagine it has to come out in the food eventually. So yeah, you get a source of copper that way. But copper is, from an archaeological perspective, is super, super fascinating. The copper age in history preceded the Bronze Age in history, and it was actually represented a great advance in the evolution of man. Doc talks about this all the time. He talks about it in epigenetics. And then, if you follow ancient history, the Copper Age was when we really figured started to really get into metallurgy. I think tin might have been, I'm not sure if tin was first, but anyway, copper is when we really started getting into that was the biblical time, actually, was the Copper Age. It was the biblical time. Before I get too far off a limb, I should probably check that, but I'm pretty sure the Copper Age was early biblical times. Like the early before the Bronze Age. Yes?
Well, I know that whenever they're making things for hospitals, like those trays and I want to say utensils, but it's more the surgical, there's a little bit of copper in that because of the antibacterial and antiviral effects of copper.
Copper, I'm sure, because it's unstable. When you have that kind of instability, iron's the same way. When you have the kind of instability like that, it kills bacteria. It has a bactericidal effect. So I can see why that would be. The copper would have some antibacterial properties. That kind of makes sense. And that's why copper conducts, by the way. Copper wire is used to conduct. Why? Because it's so unstable. It takes energy, allows energy to flow. So instability has its, there's certain things from a biological and also from a practical perspective that instability does for you, but it has a dark side. And that's why nature has protected it in colloids, or we have protected it in peptides, or by chelating it, like copper chelate supplements, or there's other ways to do it.
Okay, Becca, before you freeze, let's hear your question.
Before I freeze. It's 100 degrees. I'm not freezing, my friend.
Where are you? Are you in Arizona?
No, I'm in Central Washington.
Oh, Central
So
Washington.
I think it hit 105 today, which
Oh my
I
goodness.
the warm.
It's so pretty there, but I could not deal. Yeah, that's too much.
Yeah.
It's dry
Well,
though, at
I'm
least.
on the non-green
It's
side,
not
though,
humid.
Ben.
What? You're inside. You look cool.
19 degree, not too bad. Not too bad. But
No, not too bad.
so
Go ahead, ask me.
my question is coming from one of our coaches. She's wanting to know, is it okay to use soy flour, or are there negative effects to it? Because I know
soy is not a great plant.
there's a lot of talk.
It's a problem. The main problem with soy is it's a cash crop, and it's a commodity crop. And whenever you have these cash crops, commodity crops, they go crazy with the glyphosate and the pesticides and the fertilizers. They got huge companies, these huge big agra as they call it, and they just flood it. They don't have time to waste. They just want, and I don't care. They just pound it with the pesticides, the fertilizers, everything. So that's really the big problem. As far as soy has estrogenic effects. It's a xenoestrogen. We've talked about estrogen. Estrogens has a dark side too, especially foreign estrogens. It's probably not great. I don't eat a lot of soy personally, but it is a great source of protein. It's a great source of nutrients, fiber. Soy flour's got fiber. It's a great source of nutrients. Another problem with soy flour is the fats. Soy is very rich in oil. That's why you get soy oil. The soybean contains a lot of oil. It's a very fatty plant or bean. And that oil is very unstable. Oils, this is why Doc is always talking about oils. They're very unstable. They break down, especially in heat. They super break down in heat, and they form these horrible compounds in heat. I heard him talking about cholesterol. He said, he didn't say exactly what it was. He was talking about cholesterol when you cook it is a problem. It's called oxycholesterol, and he's 100% correct. It's a major oxycholesterol is a really bad chemical, really bad. All fats that are distorted are bad. And soy flour in the processing, they're not paying attention to what they're doing to the flour, to the oil. They care less. They're heating it, they're crushing it, they're doing all kinds of stuff to it, probably bleaching it sometimes, I imagine. They're doing all kinds of stuff to it. And so the fats are terrible in there. They're highly toxic fats. And this is a huge problem. Doc is right on with it, but it's even worse than he tells you about, because there's things made that contain fats that you don't know, like flours contain fats. Who would think that flour would have rancid fat in it even before it's cooked? Just buying it at the store. So it's a big problem. That's really the issue. And there's also probably some estrogenicity to it, and then the toxicity. Not great, but what are you gonna do? It's on the list of things that you gotta every soy flour is everywhere.
Well, when I first started,
it's tough to eat bread.
Really paying attention to my
Say that again.
I tried when I first started paying attention to my diet and trying to really do things that were high in protein, less in the gluten. Soy is one of the flours I tried, but man, especially in the Phoenix heat, I would open up the bag, and the next time I opened up the bag to use it, the smell was rancid.
That's exactly it.
And now I know why.
Smelling the fats. Yes, exactly. Soy is especially fatty. That gives it interesting characteristics, and industries like it, and you'll see it in skincare products a lot. And you'll see it, it's a very functional oil from a mechanical perspective, or from a chemical perspective. It's not great, to answer your question.
Well,
good for your answer.
All right. Well, now, Annie's asking about the MTHFR gene.
Oh no, the dreaded MTHFR.
Yeah,
methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase. To you, young man.
I'm glad you could say it. And then, should a person stick with the tangy BTT 2.5, which we know is methylated, or can they try and squeeze themselves into some ultimate daily?
I like the BTT because it's just loaded, just so freaking loaded. It's a shame when somebody doesn't want to take BTT, either the flavor or the, whatever they say, whatever you hear, because it's really quite amazing. MTHFR is a little overblown in my opinion. However, methylation issues may be a problem. You need to methylate. We talked about that before, but people, 40 40% or so, I think, maybe even close to 50% of people have MTHFR so-called genetic defects. People think, they hear this because of the way we interpret genes. I was just reading today, they found a Parkinson's gene, right? We have this idea, I was just reading today, I was going to talk about it. The whole idea that you have a gene for this and a gene for that, it's really not really how genetics work, number one. And number two, for the most part, the vast majority of your genes are related to epigenetics. So it's related to, they turn on and off as needed. And it turns out that when you have a condition where most 40% or 50% of people have it, it's not a mutation. It's just, obviously it's not a mutation. You gave me that mutated. By definition, it's not a mutation, right? If 40 or 50% of people have it, a mutation is when something weird mutates. This is at least 1 out of 2 people have it, or close to 1 out of 2 people have it. So it's really a sign of bodily duress. The body will down-regulate certain things when it's under stress, when it's under duress. So it's part of the same syndrome we're talking about here. The syndrome of toxicity, starvation, and suffocation. That's where that word, it's not quite that, what I'm talking about is a little more fundamental than what you guys are talking about, Becca, but it's along the same lines of metabolic syndrome. But this is even more fundamental than metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is the second point on the triangle of disease. So it's fundamental, but it's not even this. What we're talking about is the gut problems, the intestinal problems where everything begins. That's really fun. That's the fundamental component. That's really where you got to be working at, is the level of the intestine, because that's everything syndrome. Starvation, suffocation, toxification, the whole bit. I'm not sure if I answered the question there. Right.
Can I comment on that? Because
yes.
I'm with you, Pharmacist Ben.
Yes.
So packed full of nutrition.
Yes.
Yes, the classic has that methylated vitamins.
It does.
There's methylated vitamins. I think there's methylated vitamins beyond tangerine too, isn't there?
No, there absolutely is. And BTT, I guess Becca is reassuring Annie that there is also methylated vitamins in the Ultimate Classic liquid also.
No, not the Ultimate Classic. The Ultimate Daily Classic, the pills. But the Ultimate Daily Classic.
The pills. Okay.
Okay.
All right, you want to hear something really cool for meth?
Right.
I'm not really hearing Becca. Are you hearing Becca?
She's saying that the Ultimate Daily Classic pills do not measure up to the tangy tangerine 2.5.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I say I always find it tragic when people don't do it. What I would do if I had methylation problems, first of all, I'd work on the duress at the metabolic level, the digestion, the blood sugar, for sure. Those are indicators. And then there's certain things you could do to support methylation, and they're good things to do. The B vitamins, and check this out. The ultimate enzymes contain a methylating aid that nobody talks about. That TMG, that trimethylglycine or betaine, is a methylator. Yeah, so that alone has methylating properties, and we never talk about that. That's got promethylation properties. So you can take these things called methylating agents. And the B vitamins are methylators. Choline is a methylator from lecithin in the ultimate enzymes. Trimethylglycine is a methylator. There's various methylating molecules you can take to support methylation. But I believe if somebody's not methylating, there's a purpose for it. If there's that many people who have methylation problems, it's more like it's a down regulation than it is a mutation. You follow what I'm saying? It's like epigenetically, the system's being turned down. And we find, and this is really why, sometimes I get taken aback by this, but this is really a question that I get asked, and maybe you get asked this too, is why do I need vitamins? Why do I need nutrients? Why do I need these things? Because here's the thing. When the body and in general, and cells specifically, we're talking about cells here, when they don't think they have enough nutrients, enough resources, they turn it down. They go down regulate. It's like they go to sleep. What you want to do with nutritional supplementation, this is why nutritional supplementation is so important, is flood, drench, saturate. So the cell says, whoa, It's like it rains. It rains nutrients to the cell. Like, whoa, can you imagine when it's raining to a plant, what a plant's doing? That's what a cell's doing. B and C and copper and selenium and niacin. It's like, whoa. And what does it do? It makes collagen. It repairs bone. It builds the immune system. It makes your eyes better. It everything, because the cells are like, woohoo. That's what it does. You get what I'm saying here? Can you feel this? That's what you want. That's what you're looking for. Now, there's all kinds of things you got to do in addition to just flooding the system. But when the system sees life is good, your life will be good. When the cell sees that its life is good for it, your life's going to be good. It's like you want the cell to have an abundance of riches, like a cornucopia. You ever see the cornucopia thing? You know what I'm talking about for Thanksgiving? That's what you want the cell doing, and that's what nutritional supplementation does. Way better than food. Now, food is important for a lot of reasons, and supplements supplement. Let's get that word straight. If you have a supplemental income, that ain't your income. You don't want to live on your supplemental income, right? That's your supplemental income. Nutritions are supplemental, right? That's why they're called supplements. They're like supplemental income, right? But it's nice to have supplemental income. To a cell, it's freaking awesome. It's like getting a check in the mail, like the longevity check you get every month. That's like your cells. It's getting a check every morning, every afternoon. It's going just like you go, woohoo. Your cell is like, all right, let's go crazy. Let's make some collagen today. Let's build some muscle today. Let's shoot down some parasites today. You know what I'm saying?
Pharmacist Ben, in that vein, they do not stop on the internet talking about our cyanocobalamin coming from sludge, coming from waste made from.
First of all, so what? You're recycling waste, okay? I don't know if that's true, by the way. But if worse came to worse, that was true, who cares? The molecule is the molecule. We don't understand molecules. As a lover of the molecule, that's what I am. I'm a lover of the molecule. All molecules. That's my religion is the religion of the molecule. To me, that's God. And when I first learned about molecules in biochemistry or biochemical molecules, I about freaking got on my knees and just wanted to praise whatever, because it was so amazing to me. Molecules. It's all about the molecule. And these people don't understand molecules. Cobalamin is a molecule. It could be derived from a freaking asteroid on the moon, or derived from or an asteroid in space, or sludge, or whatever. It's a molecule. It's derived from that. That's first of all. Second of all, I don't even know how they got that it's derived from sludge. There are some things that are derived from sludge, but I don't know if that's derived from sludge. I don't know. I can't speak to that. What most people complain about is the cyanide. They have this thing in their head about cyanide. The trace amount of cyanide that you get is not even anything. The body deals, cyanide is not a deadly toxin. People think it's like you take cyanide and like you're in court and you're about to get convicted and you break open cyanide, or you're in jail and you bite a cyanide capsule. That's what they think. No, it's not like that. It's like a quantum amount of cyanide. It's like a tiny amount of cyanide. And the body handles. There's cyanide in plants.
They tell the people, if you see cyanocobalamin as your B12, go get your.
By the way, there are molecules. There are molecules in broccoli that have cyanide in them that are good for you, that are important for fighting cancer. Thiocyanates, they call them. That have cyanide in them. So no, I'm not. I should check that though. Thiocyanate. I think the thiocyanate. I got to look that up. I'm pretty sure thiocyanates. Let me look that up real quick before I go out on a limb. But I'm sure the cyanide is it's got to be a cyanide. Yeah, it's a cyanide molecule. It's a cyanide molecule. So yeah, it's thiocyanates have cyanide. Come on, man. Please don't be. These are silly people. They're not chemists. No chemist would ever say that. There are clinicians sometimes. And by the way, clinicians aren't always good chemists. A clinician is somebody who's in the clinic. A chemist is somebody who understands the molecule and the biochemical pathways. Clinicians should be good chemists, but they're not always good chemists. To me, chemistry, biochemistry that should be where you go. If you're sick, go to a biochemist, not a clinician, or a clinician who understands biochemistry. Not all clinicians do.
So I hope you see some comments on YouTube there.
What are my comments?
You got Annie. Me and my family have been using longevity products for 7 years. They've helped us. Patty, hi team. Thank you for the information. And just I have a question for you. Do you know?
Oh, by the way, let me say one thing quick. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Methylcobalamin is probably a better choice than cyanocobalamin.
Of course.
If you have a choice.
Why we use 2.5.
Yes. If you have a choice, methylcobalamin is the way to go. It's methylated. You get the methyl. It's definitely advantageous. But it's not like cyanocobalamin. You have this molecule of cyanide, and you're going to, poison yourself with cyanide. Thank
you for continuing to enlighten us on that topic. And then my last question for you is, what are you going to discuss tomorrow on your episode of Debbie Changes Lives?
Oh, is that Debbie asking that or somebody else asking?
I want to know because I want to watch.
Oh, skincare. I don't get to talk about skincare enough for my longevity chats. Because compared to all the things we're dealing with here, but I do periodically. But let me tell you something. I know skin. I know skin, and I know skincare products. I mean, that has been my life for 40 years. Since 42 years. Can you believe that?
No.
No matter how dumb you are, in 42 years, you're going to learn something. No matter how oblivious you are, if you do something over and over every day, literally, for 42 years, dude, you're going to get good. You're going to know your stuff. And I do know my stuff with skin.
Debbie thinks you're going to talk about cholesterol.
Oh, does she? Is she there?
Yeah, she's on YouTube.
Oh, I thought she wanted to talk about skin, but I'll probably talk about cholesterol, or I may talk about cholesterol and skin, because topical cholesterol is one of the best things you could do for burns or for seriously dry skin or traumatized skin. Topical cholesterol. And topical cholesterol has sun protective properties. Even the cholesterol in your skin has sun protective properties.
So we will have to check that out tomorrow. Becca, do you have any parting words for the folks?
I have one question about skin.
Well, before we ask that question, I want to tell everybody, if you like this kind of stuff, we are looking for business builders, correct? AJ and
Absolutely.
Who we can train and teach all these wonderful ideas intensely. In fact, we haven't done this, but we should have like a members only special Zoom call or something like that, where we really get down and dirty into the weeds. We should contemplate that. So we want people who really want to participate in this culture. Aside from use the supplements, obviously, we'd love people to use the supplements, even if they don't. But we want people who like this kind of stuff. And there are a lot of people out there who like this kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
You're not going to get it from the mainstream. Stuff we're talking about here is not available in the mainstream.
Absolutely. Yeah. What's your skin question, Miss Becca?
Actually, I'm going to save it for Friday, where we have Pharmacist Friday on Daily with Doc.
Okay, good.
So I'll save my question for that.
All right. Maybe we talk about skin tomorrow or on Friday.
Friday.
Well, we're talking about Friday.
On Friday, we talk about skin because we never talk about skin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
All right.
Fantastic. Well, we'll catch you, Becca. Thank you for joining us. We will catch you tomorrow on Debbie Changes Lives. Thank you for taking your time out this evening.
Is that Debbie on the call, really?
Debbie, yeah, she's right here. She's saying you're going to talk about the truth about cholesterol, the good, the bad, and essential.
I didn't know that, but I'm happy to do that. I love cholesterol. Cholesterol is a very fascinating molecule. Okay.
And the questions are coming in. Of course, they're coming in now. But Pharmacist Ben, say some parting words. Thank you for joining us for another fantastic hour.
Don't leave health on the table. You can be much healthier than you are now, if assuming that you don't know some of these things that we're talking about here. If you have been following some of these ideas, there's still always room to improve. Don't leave health on the table. Don't leave longevity on the table, and don't leave quality of life, joie de vivre, on the table either. And if you are unhealthy or you don't feel as healthy as you could or should or want to be, we can help you.